Hello and welcome back to Global Elite Computing. In this video, we are building on our previous tutorial where we created one EC2 instance in AWS and connected to it using our terminal. Today, we will take it one step further by doing two things. First, we will be deploying a basic web application on the EC2 instance. And then, we will access a simple web page by visiting the public IP address of the EC2 instance on port 80. Before we dive into the steps, here is a quick overview. AWS EC2 allows us to host web applications by running them directly on the instance. This is a great way to understand how web servers work and how you can start simple applications in the cloud. Here are the different steps we will be taking. We will configure our security group to allow HTTP traffic. Then we will install a web server on the EC2 instance. We will create a simple HTML file for our web page. We will place the HTML file on the correct directory. And finally, we will test our setup by visiting the EC2 instance public IP address. Let's start with the first step and configure the security group of the EC2 instance to allow web traffic. To configure the security group and allow web traffic, first we need to select the EC2 instance and then click on the tab Security. Under the tab Security, we can see the list of security groups that are added to the EC2 instance. Let's click on our security group. On the security group, we need to ensure we are on the tab Inbound Roles and then click on Edit Inbound Roles. Here, we need to click on Add Role. As type, we want to choose HTTP. We can either scroll up and down on the list, or we can start typing HTTP on the keyboard. By default, the protocol TCP and the port 80 are selected. As source, we want to choose Anywhere IPv4. In the description box, I will type Allow HTTP. When this is done, we can click on Save Roles. We have successfully created our inbound role to allow incoming connections on port 80 on the EC2 instance. Next, let's go ahead and install a web server on the EC2 instance. For this, we need to connect to the EC2 instance just like we did in the previous video. We will click on Instances, then select our EC2 instance and click Connect. In our terminal, we want to navigate to the location where the key pair file is. And then we want to run the command to connect to our EC2 instance. Remember, AWS provides us this command under the SSH Client tab. We are now connected to the EC2 instance. We need to install a web server to host our HTML file. We will use Apache, which is a widely used web server. But first, let's go ahead and update the package manager on the EC2 instance. For this, we are going to run the command sudo yum update. And we are going to accept all the prompts by default. After this is done, we are going to install Apache Web Server on our EC2 instance. For this, we will run sudo yum install httpt. We will also accept all the prompts. Great, that was successful. Now let's go ahead and start the Apache Web Server on the EC2 instance. After starting Apache Web Server on our EC2 instance, Let's check the status to ensure that it is started properly. We can see that Apache Web Server appears as running. Next, we will also enable Apache Web Server to start on boot. For this, we need to run the following command. Great, we are all set. Now Apache Web Server is configured to start on boot. Next, we need to create our HTML file on the correct location. I have already prepared the content of the HTML file. I will copy the content and paste it here. Here we go. Now we need to save the file. Alright, we have successfully created our HTML file on the correct location. Now let's go ahead and access our application by going to the public IP address of the EC2 instance. To find the public IP address of the EC2 instance, let's click on the EC2 instance ID. In the EC2 instance's properties, we have the public IP address. We can copy the public IP address by clicking this button. I will open a new tab and paste that address in the address bar. I need to ensure that the protocol used is HTTP and not HTTPS. Now I will press Enter to go to the public IP address of the EC2 instance. Here we go. We now have access to our application. In this example, I have created a simple HTML file for demonstration purposes. However, you can use a more complex HTML file to support a more sophisticated application tailored to meet specific functionality and design requirements. Let's quickly recap the steps we covered today. We have configured our security group to allow HTTP traffic on port 80. Then we installed Apache Web Server on our EC2 instance. We created a simple HTML file and saved it in the correct directory. And finally, we have accessed our application by going to the public IP address of the EC2 instance. Alright, we have reached the end of our video. Now you know how to deploy a basic web application on an AWS EC2 instance. This is the foundation for hosting more advanced applications in the cloud. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and share. And don't forget to subscribe for more AWS tutorials and tips. Thank you for watching, and we see you in the next video.